So we'll start with solid state physics. In solid state physics, we deal with the various properties associated with solids, such as there are electrical properties associated with solid, there are optical properties associated with the solid, there are magnetic properties associated with the solid. And study and applications of all these properties, it comes under the broad topic which is solid state physics. But here in this chapter, we will be basically dealing with the semiconductor physics. It means that we are dealing with the electrical properties of solids only. So on the basis of electrical properties, solids can be classified as insulators, conductors, and semiconductors. So if the electrical resistivity, of a solid is very high, then it is classified as insulator, or you can say that its conductivity is very poor, then it is called as insulator. Here, if resistivity range is very low or conductivity range is very high, then it is classified as a conductor, while if the resistivity lies between the resistivity of insulator and conductors, then it is called as a semiconductor. What does it mean? As the word semi, it means that its physical properties, they are lying between the physical properties of insulators and that of the conductors. So sometimes it behaves like insulator, sometimes it behaves like a conductor, and therefore it is called as a semiconductor. Then you might have seen the classification of solids into three categories, that is insulators, conductors and semiconductors. On the basis of its energy band diagram, we can classify them. We can classify the solids into insulators, conductors and semiconductors on the basis of energy band gap which exists between valence band and conduction band, which you might have studied in your basic electronics engineering course. You know that if these are those positions of valence band and conduction band, then the energy difference between valence band and conduction band, if it is very large, that is if band gap energy is more than 5 electron volt, then such material is classified as insulator. While if there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band, so here I can show that the band gap energy Eg is equal to 0 electron volt. 0 electron volt means there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band, then such material is classified into conductors. And if there exists a small energy gap between valence band and conduction band, such that this energy gap Eg is less than 2 electron volt, then such materials are classified as semiconductors. Now what does this energy gap means? What is the significance of this energy gap? We are classifying solids into three categories as insulators, conductors and semiconductors on the basis of the energy gap which exists between valence band and conduction band. Here the band gap energy is very large, more than 5 electron volt. Here band gap energy is 0. There is overlapping of valence band and conduction band, and here there is a small band gap energy less than 2 electron volt. So what is the role of this energy gap? What is the significance of this band gap energy?
Activates the electron from valence band to jump to conduction band.
No, it don't activate the electrons, but it is the amount of energy which is to be given to the valence electron so that they can make a transition from valence band to the conduction band. Now here in this case of insulator, this required amount of energy is more than 5 electron volts. It means that these valence electrons in case of such materials, they require very large amount of external energy so that they can make a transition from valence band to the conduction band. Here, there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band. It means that valence electrons are free to move inside the conduction band. So conductivity is easily achieved in case of these materials. So they are called as conductors. So band gap energy means you need to provide this much amount of energy to the valence electrons so that thereafter only these valence electrons can make a transition from valence band to the conduction band and you can achieve conductivity. Now in case of insulators, you require such a large amount of energy to be provided to the valence electrons, and this energy, if it is provided with the help of temperature, then the temperature range is from about 1000 degrees Celsius to about 2000 degrees Celsius, and therefore it requires very high temperature in order to achieve conductivity in case of these materials. So you cannot achieve conductivity easily in case of insulators because you require very high temperature range in order to achieve this energy gap. Well, in case of conductors, there is no need for increasing the temperature. Here there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band, so the valence electrons, they are free to move in the conduction band. While in case of semiconductors, with the rise of temperature, valence electrons can initially, all the valence electrons are present in the conduction band and this all the valence electrons are present in the valence band and this conduction band is completely empty, so it behaves like an insulator at absolute zero. Absolute zero means 0 degree Kelvin. 0 degree Kelvin means minus 273 degree Celsius. So at absolute zero, it behaves like a perfect insulator. It means that all the electrons are present in the valence band and conduction band is completely empty. So as no electron is present in the conduction band, there is no conductivity at all. So it is a perfect insulator. But if you increase the temperature beyond 0 degree Kelvin, for example, say the room temperature, 0 degree Kelvin is minus 273 degree Celsius, and at room temperature, by considering room temperature to be 27 degrees Celsius, then this temperature in degree Kelvin is about 300 degree Kelvin. So at such a temperature, some of the valence electrons, they can make a transition from valence band to the conduction band, and as soon as electrons reaches to the conduction band, you can see some conductivity. So the physical property of such materials, it changes with the effect of temperature. Physical properties of these materials, it changes with the effect of temperature. At absolute zero, it behaves like a perfect insulator, but at this temperature, which is 300 degree Kelvin, it behaves like a conductor. So its electrical properties changes with the change in temperature. It means that its physical properties lies between the physical properties of conductors and insulators. So that's why they are called as semiconductors. So you might have studied this classification in your basic electronics. Now in semiconductor physics, we will be dealing with this formation of energy bands in case of solids. How the formation of valence band and conduction band takes place in case of solids. Now let us consider that there is one atom. Over here, say this is atom A, and there is another atom, say B. And let R be the interatomic distance between atom A and atom B, such that this interatomic distance R is very large. If the interatomic distance is very large, it means that this atom does not have any interaction with the atom B. This atom A, atom means what? It is the constituent of matter. Atom is the constituent of matter. Here we are dealing with the solids. and solid is made up of large number of atoms in a close proximity. What are the constituents of atom? Constituents of atom is there is a nucleus which possesses some positive charge due to the protons, and there are some electrons which are revolving in various orbits around the nucleus. And you know that the number of protons present inside the nucleus is exactly equal to the number of electrons which are revolving in various orbits around the nucleus, because atom as a whole is electrically it is neutral. So number of positive charges inside the nucleus should be exactly equal to the number of negative charges which are revolving around the nucleus. So here this atom A has large number of electrons which are revolving around its various orbits. This atom B is also having large number of electrons which are revolving in various orbits. Like that. Now I am not talking about the inner field electrons, because you know that these inner field electrons, they are very strongly bound to the nucleus, and therefore they do not take part in any kind of interaction at all. But the electrons which take part in the interaction process is the valence electrons. Valence electrons are nothing but electrons present in the outermost shell of an atom. So when the interatomic distance between the two atoms A and B is very large, then in that case there is no interaction at all between the valence electrons of these two atoms, and therefore in such a case we can treat such an atom as isolated atom. Isolated atom means an atom which does not have any interaction with the nearby atoms or adjacent atoms. Such an atom is called as isolated atom. And you know that the energy levels associated with the isolated atom, they are defined by, they are sharply defined energy levels. They are discrete and sharply defined energy levels, like 1s, 2s, 3s, 3p, like that. So here 1s is a energy level shell, 2s is a energy shell, 3s is the energy shell, 3p is a energy shell. And each energy shell is decided by set of 4 quantum numbers, that is n, l, ml and ms, where n is the principal quantum number, l is the orbital quantum number, ml is the magnetic orbital quantum number, and ms is the spin magnetic quantum number. So each energy state, that is 1s state, 2s state, 3s state or 3p state, all such energy states or all these energy shells, they are defined by the set of these 4 quantum numbers. So the energy levels associated with such an isolated atom, they are sharply defined and they are discrete in nature. But what happens if these two atoms are brought close to one another? If you keep on reducing the interatomic distance between the two atoms, इन दोनों का अगर आप interatomic distance कम करते लाएंगे, then what will happen? If the interatomic distance R is reduced, what will happen to these atoms? Do these inner field electrons take part in interaction process? No. So which electrons take part in the interaction process? Here, when the two atoms are brought close to one another, then the valence electrons, they take part in the process of interaction. So there is an interaction between the valence electrons of these two atoms, and due to such an interaction, due to overlapping of such electrons, there will be a succession between the electrons of the valence orbit, that they will try to occupy the same energy state. Means the electrons present in the valence shell of this atom and the electron present in the valence shell of this atom, both of them, they will try to occupy the same energy state. Suppose this 2s is the energy state. ये भी electron, it will try to occupy this state. This electron will also try to occupy this state. So if the large number of electrons, they try to occupy the same energy state, then this single energy state, it will split up into two energy states. Because there is one principle known as Pauli's exclusion principle, and this Pauli's exclusion principle, it says that no two electrons can occupy the same energy state. or no two electrons can occupy the same set of 4 quantum numbers, that is n, l, ml and ms. So if there are two electrons, just imagine that there are two electrons present in this 2s state, then you know that this 2s state is decided by the set of 4 quantum numbers, that is n, l, ml and ms. So for these two electrons, n can be same, l can be same, ml can be same, but ms has to be different. So for one electron, if there is a spin up, for other electron there has to be a spin down, then only these two electrons can remain present in this single energy state. So one of the electrons has a spin up, it means that it has a spin which is half h cross, while other electron has a spin down, it means that it has a spin which is minus half h cross. Then only these two electrons can reside in this energy state. Now if there is one more electron, then it cannot remain in this state. And therefore, if there are large number of valence electrons, then in that case, this single energy level, it will split up into two energy levels. Now here, in this splitted energy level, it can accommodate two electrons, and this energy level, it can accommodate two electrons. So if two atoms comes in close proximity, then this single energy level will split up into two energy levels. If there are three atoms in a close proximity, then this single energy level will split up into three energy levels. If four atoms comes in close proximity, then it will split up into four energy levels. If five atoms comes in close proximity, it will split up into five energy levels. But for formation of a solid, so if large number of atoms comes in close proximity, then this single energy level split up into large number of energy levels. Now for formation of a solid, there are about 10 raised to power 28 atoms required to be in 1 meter cube. So when we talk about a solid, this is a solid. So for formation of solid, you know that there are large number of atoms in a close proximity, and the number is very huge. There are about 10 raised to power 28 atoms in 1 meter cube. So if such number of atoms comes in close proximity, then this single energy level, it will split up into 10 raised to power 28 energy levels. So just imagine that there is an energy level of the order of say 1 electron volt. And if 10 raised to power 28 atoms comes in close proximity, then this 1 electron volt, it will split up into 10 raised to power 28 energy levels. So if this 1 electron volt splits up into 10 raised to power 28 energy levels, then what is the difference between splitted adjacent energy levels? ये दो splitted energy levels हैं, इनमें का difference कितना होगा? What will be the difference between the splitted adjacent energy levels? 1 electron volt is divided into 10 raised to power 28 energy levels. So what is the difference between the splitted adjacent energy levels?
1 upon 10 to the power 20.
It will be 1 electron volt divided by 10 to the power 28. So that will be 10 raised to power minus 28 electron volt. So the difference between these two energy levels is of the order of 10 raised to power minus 28 electron volt, means 0.0000000000. If I write this for 28 times, and then some figure, that is the amount of difference between the two energy levels. So the energy gap difference between the splitted energy levels is so small that it is the energy difference for the electrons, but for us these two energy levels are nearly same, and therefore these two energy levels are nearly same, as so these two energy levels are also same. These two energy levels are also same. It means that all these energy levels are nearly same, and therefore the continuum of energy is called as energy band. So it leads to the formation of energy band instead of an energy shell. So on the left hand side we have an energy shell, but if large number of atoms are brought in close proximity, then it will no more be a shell, but it instead called as an energy band. So if the splitting of this 2s shell takes place, then it leads to a band which is called as a 2s band. If there is a splitting of this 3s shell takes place, then it is called as a 3s band and no more a shell. So in case of solids, there are energy bands instead of energy shells. We talk about energy shell if an atom is an isolated atom. Isolated atom means an atom which does not have any interaction with the nearby atoms. We will discuss the formation of energy bands in group 4 element, and then you will have some more idea to be clear. What is mean by group 4 element is if the valency is 4, then they are classified as group 4 elements, and the group 4 elements are carbon, silicon and germanium. You know what is the atomic number of carbon? Atomic number of carbon is 6, atomic number of silicon is 14 and atomic number of germanium is 13. So atomic number means the number of protons, and you know that atom is electrically neutral, so the number of equivalent negative charge, it should revolve around the nucleus, and therefore number of electrons is exactly equal to the number of protons. So the atomic number of carbon is 6, it means that in total it has 6 electrons. The atomic number of silicon is 14, it means that in total it has 14 electrons. Atomic number of germanium is 32, it means that in total it has 32 electrons, out of which there are only 4 electrons which are present in the valence band. 2 electrons are present in the innermost shell. Here 4 electrons are present in the outermost shell, while 10 electrons are present in the inner field shells. So they do not take part in the process of interaction. Only the 4 electrons which are present in the valence shell, they will take part in the process of interaction. So if we want to write the electronic configuration, then what will be the electronic configuration for carbon? For carbon it is 1s2, 2s2 and then 2p2. What is the electronic configuration for silicon? It is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, then 3s2 and then 3p2. For germanium, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, then 3s2, 3p6, 3d10, 4s2 and 4p2. So what is the similarity that you observe in these electronic configurations?
2 electrons in the outermost shell. 4 electrons.
These are inner field shells. These are the valence shells. These are the valence shells. These are the valence shells. And here you can see that there are 2 electrons present in S shell, 2 electrons in P shell. Here also there are 2 electrons in S shell, 2 electrons in P shell. Here also 2 electrons in S shell and 2 electrons in the P shell. So for group 4 elements, you know that there are 2 electrons in S shell and there are 2 electrons in the P shell. Now here we are calling them as shells because here we are treating these atoms as isolated atoms. Means here we are considering that there is only one carbon atom. So if there is only one carbon atom, then there are 6 electrons associated with this carbon, and they can be distributed in such a way that 2 electrons are present in 1s shell, 2 electrons are present in 2s shell, and remaining 2 electrons are present in the 2p shell. Like that. So here I am plotting an energy band diagram, that is energy versus the interatomic distance. Now when the interatomic distance is very large, then in that case you can treat the atoms as isolated atoms. There is no interaction between the adjacent atoms, so you can treat the atoms as isolated atoms of group 4 element. And in case of group 4 element, you know that 2 electrons are present in the S shell and 2 electrons are present in the P shell. What is capacity of this S shell? S shell has the capacity to occupy 2 electrons, while P shell has the capacity to occupy 6 electrons. But if the interatomic distance is decreased, if you are coming on this scale, if you reduce the interatomic distance, then what will happen? As the interatomic distance is decreased, then large number of atoms, they come in close proximity for the formation of a solid, and when large number of atoms comes in close proximity, then this S shell, it will split up into large number of energy levels. So let us consider that n number of group 4 elements, they comes in close proximity. So you know that if 2 atoms comes in close proximity, then this S shell will split up into 2 energy levels. If 3 atoms comes in close proximity, it will split up into 3 energy levels. If 4 atoms comes in close proximity, it will split up into 4 energy levels. If 5 atoms comes in close proximity, it will split up into 5 energy levels, and so on. So if capital N number of atoms comes in close proximity, then this single energy state, that is S shell, it will split up into n number of energy levels. And then if it splits up into n number of energy levels, you know that the energy difference between the adjacent splitted energy levels being very small, all these energy levels are nearly equal, and therefore all these energy levels can be taken as almost continuous in nature. So it is called as a continuum of energy, and that continuum of energy is called as an energy band. So this S shell will no more be a shell, but it is called as a band. So it is called as a S band. Similarly, what will happen to the P shell? P shell will also split up into large number of energy levels, n number of energy levels, if the interatomic distance is decreased. And then it will no more be a shell, it is called as a band. So P is also called as a P band and not a P shell. Now what will be the total capacity of this S band? एक S shell की capacity कितनी है? To occupy 2 electrons. But if such an S shell splits up into n number of energy levels, then what is the total capacity of this S band is? एक S shell की capacity है to occupy 2 electrons. But if this S shell splits up into n number of energy levels, what is the total capacity of this S shell? Its capacity will be 2n. where capital N is the total number of electrons. What is the total capacity of P shell? P shell has the capacity to occupy 6 electrons, but if this P shell splits up into n number of energy levels, then the total capacity of this P band is to occupy 6n electrons. And what do you observe over here is, due to splitting of P shell and S shell, there is overlapping of two bands takes place. There is overlapping of S band and P band takes place, and it leads to the formation of a hybrid band. And what is the capacity of this hybrid band? What is the capacity of this hybrid band? It is 6n plus 2n, which is equal to 8n. So the capacity of this hybrid band is to occupy 8n electrons. Further, if you reduce the interatomic distance, then what will happen to this hybrid band? ये hybrid band को क्या होगा? What will be the effect on this hybrid band by reducing the interatomic distance further? You know that whenever interatomic distance is reduced, it will split up into a single energy level will split up into large number of energy levels. So here there is suppose one energy band which is a hybrid energy band. If you still keep on reducing the distance, then this hybrid band will also split up into two bands. So this hybrid band will split up into two bands. One of the band will be having lower energy, other band will be having higher energy. The total capacity of this hybrid band is 8n. It will exactly split up into a band with a capacity of 4n electrons, which is having lower energy, and a band with a capacity to occupy 4n electrons with higher energy. Now, how many electrons are there in case of our group 4 elements if a solid of group 4 element with n number of atoms is formed? How many valence electrons are there in case of a group 4 element? If we have a single carbon atom or if we have a single silicon atom, then such single silicon atom has 4 electrons as the valence electrons. There are total 14 electrons associated with this single silicon atom. But out of these 14 electrons, 10 electrons are filled up in the inner field shell, while only 4 electrons are present in the valence shell. So each silicon atom has 4 electrons associated with it. So if a silicon solid is formed with the help of n number of atoms, then it means that there are 4n electrons, which are the valence electrons associated with the silicon solid. So all such 4n electrons associated with the silicon solid, they get filled up in the lower energy state, because the natural tendency of atoms, ions, molecules, electrons is to occupy the lower energy state. So all such valence electrons, which are the 4n electrons associated with the group 4 element, they are filled up in the lower energy state, while there is an empty space for 4n electrons in the higher energy state. Now this band is filled up by the valence electrons, and therefore such band is called as valence band, while the higher energy band, which remains completely empty, is called as conduction band, and there exists an energy gap between the valence band and conduction band. So unless and until you provide this energy to the valence electrons, they cannot jump from valence band to the conduction band. But as soon as you provide energy to the electrons present in valence band, they can jump from valence band to the conduction band, and then you can achieve some conductivity in case of group 4 elements. Is it clear to you how the conduction band and valence band is formed in case of group 4 element, or is there any doubt? Just look at the steps involved over here. Here what we have plotted is, we have plotted interatomic distance versus the energy. When the interatomic distance is very large, there is no interaction between the adjacent atoms. In that case, they can be treated as isolated atom. For isolated atom, its energy levels are sharply defined. And in case of group 4 element, we know that all the energy shells are filled completely, while in S shell, for example, in case of carbon, what is the electronic configuration? It is 1s2, 2s2, and 2p2. So 2 electrons are completely filled in the S shell, so it is completely filled shell. This is called as inner filled shell, while these two are the valence shells. So in valence shell, 2 electrons are there present in the S shell and 2 electrons are present in the P shell, and that's why we have considered only the S and P shell over here. So when interatomic distance is very large, they are called as S shell and P shell. Capacity of this S shell is to occupy 2 electrons, capacity of this P shell is to occupy 6 electrons. But if the interatomic distance is reduced, then interaction of adjacent atoms will take place, because here we are considering the formation of a solid, because for formation of solid, large number of atoms comes in close proximity. So when the interatomic distance is reduced, this S shell will split up into large number of energy shells. P shell will also split up into large number of energy shells, and you know that the difference between adjacent energy levels is nearly same. Therefore, it is called as energy band. It is called as S band. This band is called as P band. So due to that, there is overlapping of S band and P band takes place. Capacity of this S band will become to occupy 2n electrons. Capacity of this P band becomes to occupy 6n electrons. So the capacity of this hybrid band becomes to occupy 8n electrons. Further, if the interatomic distance is reduced, then there is a splitting of this hybrid band takes place in such a way that 4n electrons are occupied in the lower energy level band, while there is an empty space for 4n electrons in higher energy band, because the natural tendency of atoms, ions, molecules, electrons is to occupy the lower energy state. So all the valence electrons, which are the 4n number of electrons, they are completely occupied in this lower energy level band. And as these are the valence electrons, so the energy associated with it is called as valence band. While the higher energy band, which remains completely empty, is called as conduction band. And there exists an energy gap between the valence band and conduction band. So the band gap energy which exists between valence band and conduction band, it completely depends upon the interatomic distance in case of solids. And the interatomic distance in case of carbon, germanium and silicon is such that for carbon it is 3.56 angstrom per minute, and therefore this is the lattice constant in case of carbon. So the band gap which exists in case of carbon is of the order of 5.7 electron volt. For silicon it is 5.43 angstrom per minute, and therefore the band gap is of the order of 1.12 electron volt. And for germanium it is 5.66 angstrom per minute. And here the band gap energy is of the order of 0.72 electron volt. So the energy gap Eg which exists between valence band and conduction band, in case of a group 4 element, it depends upon what? It depends upon the interatomic distance. Here in case of carbon, the lattice constant means the interatomic distance is 3.56 angstrom per minute, and therefore the energy band gap in case of carbon, energy band gap means the energy gap which exists between valence band and conduction band is of the order of 5.7 electron volt. For silicon it is 5.43 angstrom per minute, and the energy gap is 1.12 electron volt. And for germanium it is 5.66 angstrom per minute, and the energy gap is 0.72 electron volt. So how will you classify carbon, silicon and germanium? We have already discussed the classification of solids into insulators, conductors and semiconductors on the basis of its energy band diagram. So how will you classify carbon, silicon and germanium? Carbon is an insulator. Why? If the energy gap between the valence band and conduction band is more than 5 electron volt, then it is classified as an insulator. So here energy gap is 5.7 electron volt, which is more than 5 electron volt. So it is classified as insulator. So carbon is an insulator. While what about silicon and germanium? Silicon and germanium, they are the semiconductors, because their energy gap is less than 2 electron volt, so they are classified as semiconductors. So though carbon, silicon and germanium, they belong to the group 4 elements, but out of these group 4 elements, carbon is not a semiconductor. Carbon is an insulator, while silicon and germanium, they are only the semiconductors in case of group 4 element. So do remember this. We'll discuss few more formation of energy bands in various solids like lithium, beryllium, diamond and silicon, and then you will have idea about what is mean by valence band and conduction band. So lithium, you know what is atomic number for lithium? It is 3. So as the atomic number of lithium is 3, means in total it has 3 electrons associated with it. You can write the electronic configuration of lithium as 1s2 and 2s1. So if there is only one lithium atom, single lithium atom, then it has only 3 electrons. And these 3 electrons are distributed in such a way that 2 electrons in 1s band and remaining 1 electron in the 2s shell. But here we are talking about the lithium solid, which is formed with the help of say n number of atoms. So if a lithium solid is formed with the help of n number of atoms, it means that there will be 3n electrons associated with such a lithium solid. And then in that case, these are no more referred as shells, but they are referred as energy bands. So here this 1s is called as 1s band and this 2s is called as a 2s band. So the capacity of this S band is to occupy 2n electrons, and therefore out of 3n electrons, 2n electrons are occupied in this 1s band and remaining n electrons are occupied in the 2s band. So if we draw the energy diagram, then this 1s band is completely filled with 2n electrons. It has the capacity to occupy 2n electrons, while the next higher energy band is 2s band. What is the capacity of this 2s band? Capacity of this 2s band is to occupy 2n electrons. But how many electrons are remain with us? We have only the n number of electrons which are remain with us, and all these 1n electrons, all these n number of electrons are filled in this 2s band. While there is an empty space for how many electrons? There is an empty space for another n number of electrons. So this 1s band which is completely filled is referred as inner filled band. While the band which is 2s band, it is just half filled. It is filled with n number of electrons, and such n number of electrons are the valence electrons. So it is called as valence band, and it is empty for another n number of electrons. So the band with higher energy, which remains empty for n number of electrons, is referred as conduction band. And here you can see that valence band and conduction band, they overlap on one another. So whenever there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band, then this is the case of what? This is the case of a conductor, and therefore lithium is a very good conductor. So lithium is a good conductor. The next is formation of energy bands in beryllium. What is atomic number for beryllium? It is 4. Atomic number for beryllium is 4. So if a beryllium solid is formed with the help of n number of atoms, then there will be 4n electrons associated with the beryllium solid. एक beryllium atom के पास में कितने electrons हैं? 4 electrons. So if a beryllium solid is formed with the help of n number of atoms, then such beryllium solid will be having 4n electrons associated with it. We can write the electronic configuration as 1s2, 2s2. How many electrons are there with us? 4n electrons. So out of 4n electrons, 2n electrons are present in 1s, remaining 2n electrons are present in 2s. The next higher energy band is 2p band. It remains empty. So this band is completely filled, this band is empty. It means that it seems that it is like it is the case of an insulator. It seems like so that this 2s band is completely filled, 2p band is completely empty. So valence band is completely filled, conduction band is completely empty. It means that it seems like a case of an insulator. But in practice, it is not so. The interatomic distance in case of beryllium is such that there is overlapping of 2s band and 2p band takes place. So due to overlapping of 2s and 2p band, the total capacity of this hybrid band becomes, इसकी capacity कितनी है? What is the capacity of this 2s band? It has the capacity to occupy 2n electrons. What is the capacity of 2p band? 2p band has the capacity to occupy 6n electrons. So the total capacity of this hybrid band becomes 8n electrons. Now how many electrons we have? We have 4n electrons. Out of 4n electrons, 2n electrons will occupy their position in 1s band. Now what is the number of electrons which we have? Now we remain only with the 2n electrons, and these 2n electrons are occupied here in this hybrid band. Now as the 2n electrons are the valence electrons, therefore this band is called as valence band, while there is an empty space for how many electrons?
6n.
There is an empty space for 6n electrons in with higher energy, and therefore this band is called as conduction band, this band is called as valence band, and again here you can see that there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band. So whenever there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band, that is the case of a conductor. So beryllium is also a good conductor like lithium. Because in the case of lithium and beryllium, there is overlapping of valence band and conduction band. We will discuss the formation of energy bands in diamond and silicon in next lecture.